Well, hello again, Paleo FX Tribe. It's Keith Norris back again for some more awesome interviews. Today I have Mr. Chris Shade, Dr. Chris Shade. Chris Shade is the founder of Quicksilver. Let me say that again. Dr. Chris Shade is the founder of Quicksilver Scientific, and he's going to be giving an awesome talk at Paleo FX that we cannot wait for. Let me ask you this. How many of you are curious about detox? How many of you are curious about autophagy? How many of you want to maximize the function of your mitochondria? How many of you know how to do that? Probably very few of you. Probably very few. Dr. Shade knows very, very few people do. That's why he is giving this talk at Paleo FX. Let me give you the title of that. Beyond Detox, Integrating Autophagy into Detox Protocols to Clear and Rebuild Cells and Increase Mitochondrial Density. Dr. Chris Shade, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Paleo FX page.
Hello, hello. I'm very happy to be here, Keith. Good to talk to you.
Right on. And tell us, Dr. Shade, just right out of the gate, why mitochondrial density and healthy mitochondria just writ large?
Yeah, so anything you want your body to do, whether it's just give you energy to run around and do stuff, to think clearly, to be able to handle immune infections coming in, to be able to detox, that all relies on cellular energy being produced by mitochondria. And there's so much in the world today that damages mitochondria. We have to make sure that we take care of them so they can feed us.
Right on. And what are some practical ways we can do that? I know your talk is all about that at Paleo FX, and we don't want to let the entire cat out of the bag. Maybe just the forefoot or one paw we'll let out of the bag.
So for years I've been focusing on real detoxification. How do we line up all of the molecular reactions that are happening in a cell to get things out of the cell, line up the reactions in the liver, the kidney, the GI, to get things out of get all the circulating toxins cleared out of the blood. And it's one thing if the toxins are going in and they're damaging our mitochondria. And this is one of the things that they crucially do. And this is why toxicity makes you tired, is they damage mitochondria. If I reach in and I pull all the toxins out and you're left with a whole bunch of damaged mitochondria, how much better off are you? You're better off, but you're not all the way better off. So I talk about directionality of detoxification, and that's getting toxins from the cells to the blood, and then the directionality in the liver, and that's taking them from the blood and dumping them into the bile flow. So we'll talk about uniting bile flow with detoxification and getting your cells to dump everything. But then there's this inward dimension where you go into the cell and you take damaged organelles. Organelles are the little parts of the cell that are the organs of the cell. That's the mitochondria. It's the endoplasmic reticulum. That's where all your hormones are made. It's the Golgi apparatus where you're making proteins for the matrix. All of these, when they get damaged, they need to be digested and remade, and that's autophagy. When we talk about mitochondria, that's the most palpable of these because it's making energy for us. That's called mitophagy. So a lot of the things that we take that affect detoxification also affect autophagy. But if we couple things like keto diets and intermittent fasting along with our detoxification supplements, and we take the right ones in the right sequence, we will not only clear the toxins, but then we'll go into our cells and clear out the bad mitochondria and rebuild them into good ones. So we'll be talking about the different compounds that stimulate that process, and we'll also talk about a product we're just releasing now. Get this. Keto before 6. If you wake up and you don't eat carbs and you have like a bulletproof coffee, or even if you don't eat anything at all, if you're just on keto and you take this, even if you had carbs the night before, you'll make ketones in an hour to 2 hours, every single person in the world. And during the day, you could be generating ketones in ketosis because the nutraceuticals are hitting gene triggers to flip you into burning fat. And then at night, After 6, you can go back to eating carbs for more of a repair, regenerative, get that insulin signaling back to rebuild everything, be able to sleep well. And that's autophagy during the day, and then rebuilding and laying down mass at night. And so I'm going to integrate the way we do detoxification with these aspects of driving ketosis.
Awesome. And I feel, Dr. Shade, that just the term detox has been given a bad rap because people have kind of a quote unquote woo association with detox.
It's certainly true. And they think, oh yeah, I'm going to do a juice fast. So a lot of these things that they think are detox are just cleaning out your GI tract. Like, I'm not going to put food in there for a little bit, and it's going to, or I'm going to put laxatives and fiber in there, and that's going to clear out. And that does help you, but there's powerful and profound mechanisms that are happening at a cellular level where you're turning on whole families of chemoprotective genes that bring up your internal antioxidants, that bring up the conjugation enzymes to link toxins together with your own molecules, the transporters that are moving them all through the body. This is the real level of detox, and this is not even approached by these lighter juice fasts and things for the GI. They're supportive of what I'm doing, but they are not what we're doing when we're really triggering it.
Right. And the detoxification process, it's very, very important that you get the sequencing right, correct? So if you trigger a toxin release within the body and you're not primed to deal with that onslaught of toxins, then what happens?
Then that's redistribution. And so if you're just blindly taking something because you heard it's good for detox, like lipoic acid, we make a lot of use of it, but only in the right context. If you take it alone, it can stimulate your cells to push toxins out into the blood. But unless that's coupled to the proper movement of bile out of the liver and binding of the toxins in the GI tract, then you're just going to throw things out of the fat or out of your tissues, and they're just going to circulate around until they find another target.
Right. So I remember a few years ago, Michelle had mercury fillings in her mouth, right? And luckily enough, she was working with a practitioner here in Austin at the time that knew about this, and it took months for him to get her to the point to where he thought that she was then ready for that treatment, even though the treatment itself was very careful and done under the best circumstances and with a dentist who knew what he was doing, but there was still the potentiality for that mercury to be released into the system. And what he did not want was for her to have a toxic overload at that time. He had to ensure that her detox pathways were up and running and functioning properly. So I'm sure you deal with much of the same in your practice.
Yeah, this is what we deal with all the time. And I'm lecturing and teaching doctors how to do these protocols. And once we really learned, how the doors of detoxification line up, how they integrate, how your liver and kidney function are integrated into those, we've been able to speed up how fast people are able to detoxify. But one of the key things to remember is that inflammation is blocking detoxification. Inflammation is where you're trying to kill microbes, and you turn down detoxification because inflammation makes pro-oxidants and detoxification makes antioxidants. So you control them like that. You turn down your antioxidant production while you're turning up inflammation. And inflammation and even chronic stress block the movement of bile out of your liver. And when that's blocked, you can't move toxins out. So if you're in that inflamed blocked state, and I go and I drill a bunch of amalgams out, and a bunch is going into your blood, and then you have all these changes in your tooth registration, your body just goes haywire. So our job is to get everything smoothed and moving before you take those amalgams out. Or in the context of just putting you into detoxification, having that directionality, getting the bile flow moving, And once it hits the GI tract, getting the binders on board to catch everything, that is step number one. And once you have that, then you can push all those buttons of detoxification in the tissues to dump everything out. And then it is a very safe process that brings your energy back, brings back immune function, brings back youth and longevity, and gives you all of those rewards without this scary thing. Because detox has two perceptions. One is woo-woo, like it doesn't mean anything, and the other is scary, like, whoa, if I go into detox, I can get worse, I'm going to be by the toilet all day. And neither of those is true. It is a profound and powerful application of naturopathy and biochemistry, and done right, it is safe, and it brings you into a better place very quickly.
Right. And when you're working with patients, how do you know when they are ready, say, to go have their mercury fillings taken out? Is it a series of tests? Is that what you're looking for, or?
Well, it's a combination of testing and clinical knowledge. You talk to them about how they're feeling, about how they react to different supplements that they take. They'll say, oh, I take that and everything gets kind of crazy, and oh, I get these rashes and this or that. And then I know we have to get that liver flowing and working better before we go into doing the removal. But there'll always be a few weeks of detox before the removals take place. And then when the amalgam removals take place, you need the right dentist using the safe amalgam removal protocols. Usually they follow the protocols laid out by the IAOMT, International Academy of Oral and Medical Toxicology. And if you just get everything rolling right before they do that, then everything works well. And then you keep them, you build up their detox with time, which, brings me to the two things that you got to know really about detox. You have to get the directionality, the bioflow working, and you have to titrate up the dosing. You don't jump into a really intense detox. You start low, get everything organized, everything lined up. It's like people going into fat burning. It usually takes them a little while to get there. So start with the low dosage and work up to much higher doses over time.
Right. And on the daily, with a person who is relatively healthy, I would consider myself healthy, but I do know I'm exposed to environmental toxins on the daily. We all are, but especially so, I live near downtown Austin, Texas. I ride my bike a lot, just about every day. And a lot of that is in and around downtown Austin. And I think, well, how healthy am I really being riding my bike out here? And I'm just sucking up exhaust. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And I like to say that there's periods for formal detox, and then there's continuous maintenance. And by continuous, I don't mean every day. Now, you may, on almost every day, some people take some glutathione or some vitamin C. But, for me, on the weekends, I'll always, push catch liver detox is really discreet. You can do a single dose round of it, which takes you about an hour, and that's like a little micro detox. And so on the weekends, I'll do 2 or 3 of those in a single day just to open up and get everything flowing. I'll couple that to a sauna. So I'll take these liver liposomes, and then I'll get into the sauna. About 15 minutes later, I'll drink down the charcoal and the binders, and then go another 15 minutes. And just hitting that intermittently a couple of times a week really keeps everything flowing and really keeps you healthy.
Right. You brought up a term. Okay, so we talked about autophagy, and I think most people get that, but is there a corollary with the mitochondria?
So mitophagy is specifically taking damaged mitochondria and you digest them in the lysozyme, and then you make a new one. Endoreticulopathy is that process for the endoplasmic reticulum. And, we don't talk about that organelle enough, but you'll see that coming over the next couple of years. All your hormone transformations, from cholesterol all the way out to the sex hormones takes place about 30% in the membranes of the mitochondria and the other 70% in the membranes of the endoplasmic reticulum. It's just a big folded over membrane. So when that's damaged, you digest it, make another one. You can do this with the nucleus. Lipophagy is when you're digesting fat, like in fatty liver. That's from not having any autophagy, and not what's called blocking mTOR puts you into autophagy. And that happens naturally when you fast, and certain nutraceuticals that we use, like resveratrol, quercetin, berberine, they block mTOR and put you into autophagy. So in the liver, there's lipophagy. Those buildups of adipose tissue in the liver, those get digested out, used for energy, and clear up the liver. In fact, there was a guy over in Houston using these protocols that we developed with the push-catch liver detox, along with a little bit of dietary intervention, and he got, in 150 patients, he got 83% of the fatty liver in 150 patients with it resolved in 1 to 2 months doing this. This combination of detoxification with autophagy embedded into the detoxification protocol. So you not only take the toxin out and you go and you digest the extra or the damaged matter and rebuild good matter.
Right. And Dr. Shade, in your opinion, and I know everybody's different. Everybody comes into this gaming point, but what is step number one for people? Is it diet? Is it lifestyle? Is it zoning in on a detox process? Or where is step one for most people?
Step one, I think, is diet. Exercise can make up for diet to an extent, but it'll never totally replace it. And diet alone can do a little. You want both. You want exercise and diet together. But diet is probably the most fundamental aspect, what we eat. And absolutely at the beginning, getting rid of all the processed food, getting rid of all the stuff that's just not food. You know, Michael Pollan's book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, really says it the best. Eat food, real food, and most of it plants.
Right.
And that's the best single comment in dietary control that's ever been said. And so getting to that, and then starting to integrate intermittent fasting and periods of having less food coming in, start to control how you're taking carbs and protein. These are the things that will really start shifting everything in you. And then when you do that and you take on these supplements and these nutraceutical-based programs, everything will work a whole lot better. Right.
And one question I get quite a bit, and I'm not the expert, so I always hesitate to answer questions. I tell people that's why Michelle and I run Paleo FX, because we're not the experts. We know the experts. So
yeah.
Caveat. So autophagy can occur when a person is in ketosis, right? It's independent of ketone levels. Is that correct?
Yes, it is, because autophagy centers around this pathway called mTOR. There's a target in your cell called mTOR. And when it's going forward, you're laying down mass, you're building stuff out. And what drives it forward? Carbohydrates, not carbohydrates directly, insulin drives it forward, and branched chain amino acids. So those are the things that drive it forward. Taking away carbs moves you into fat burning, or ketosis, so you're generating ketone bodies. But if you keep the protein really high, you could be making ketones, but without blocking it. All right, so roll back a second. So insulin and branched chain amino acids drive it forward. You lay down mass. A lack of those blocks mTOR and then drives you into autophagy. And then you will go in and you will digest. You'll start digesting your own matter and using that, and you'll focus on damaged proteins and digest them and make new ones from it. You'll digest fat and make ketones from it. Now, the formation of ketones is basically, is there carbohydrate or not? So you can restrict carbohydrate and have high protein, and you will be in ketosis, but not blocking mTOR enough to drive autophagy. So this was kind of the failure around paleo, application of paleo, and where keto does a better job, because they pulled back protein. Mm-hmm. And once you pull back the protein and the carb, then you make ketones and you're in autophagy. And then, doing that too much is also a problem. So, guys who, like, I remember when Joe Mercola dove into that, and he went through about a year of that. I thought the guy was going to disappear off the planet. He was, and he said, then later he said, oh yeah, I went too far. You need to pulse it. So you're in times of ketosis and then times of eating complex carbs, getting that insulin, getting that mTOR forward, building the mass back on. And it's that clarify, rebuild. That's the pulsing that we want. And with the Keto Before 6 product, I was able to build that pulsing into a single day.
Right.
So during the day, you're eating fats, you're keeping very moderate protein, really just, eating avocados and ghee and MCT and fatty nuts. And then at night, you're bringing all that stuff back on. So that's really where the evolution of all this has come. And so there you see diet and nutraceuticals together being able to fast forward all of this.
Right. And for me, and I think for most people out there, then if you overlay that with a very effective exercise program, that allows you to switch back and forth very, very easily and more naturally.
Oh yeah, because when you're trying to generate ketones, you're restricting the carb and the protein. You go work out fasted like that, man, you just drive right into it, and you start burning off all that fat. Then afterward, you're like, no, I think I need some carbs, and then you lay down really nice mass over that. Since I've been doing that, my workouts have been really, really good, and really generating a lot of quality muscle mass while keeping our super clean metabolism.
Right. And about 2 years ago, just a slight change in my diet, just ever so slight. And it was more towards the intermittent fasting and cyclic keto diet. And 15 pounds just evaporated. And I didn't think I had 15 pounds to lose. I was already at pretty low body fat level, but I dropped to even lower body fat level, did not lose any strength or stamina. But it was just 15.
And the clarity, the mental clarity, and the energy you get through the day. I mean, I'm just on it all day and just feel great.
Yeah, it's excellent.
And don't make it seem like I work out a lot. I only get to the gym twice a week, and it just works great. I mean, I think we've really evolved from the paleo into the keto, into the cyclical. We're really dialing that in, and then each person will have slightly different variations on that. And I'm really proud of where we've all gotten to as a movement.
Right. Can you, Dr. Shea, can you dive into NRF2 upregulation?
Oh, absolutely. And so NRF2 is a trigger called a nuclear transcription factor. And as we go and we figure out these things, like for driving lipolysis, there's nuclear transcription factors, there's AMPK, mTOR, the PPAR alpha, PGC1A. These are big triggers that you're hitting either with fasting or with carbohydrate restriction and nutraceuticals together to turn on all the genes for fat burning. There's a big trigger for turning all the genes for detox, and that's called NRF2. And when things activate NRF2, it goes into the gene and it goes into the nucleus and turns up transcription of the genes for intracellular antioxidants and detoxification elements like glutathione, the phase 2 enzymes that go with them, and the transporters, and a bunch of what are called molecular chaperones, which keep your proteins all folded right. And the result is turning up your chemoprotection system. So when we do detox, we make sure liver bile is flowing right, kidneys, urine are flowing right, the GI is moving, the binders are in there. We got all that going, and then we put in NRF2 upregulators that get all your cells to turn on the chemistry, to conjugate the toxins to your molecules and push them out into the blood. And once they're out there in the blood, we already got liver, kidney, GI ready to filter all that out. So what upregulates NRF2? Lipoic acid is very strong. R-lipoic acid is the strong form for that. Polyphenols like EGCG, some of the Ayurvedic ones like Haritaki, ellagic acid from pomegranates. Those are all good NRF2 upregulators. Sulforaphane from broccoli sprouts is probably the strongest. And wasabi is also a really good one too. I always talk about the Japanese handling so much mercury in their fish because they're drinking green tea. They're eating all the broccoli family all the time. Right. They got wasabi all the time. The sulfur compounds from garlic and onion are also NRF2 upregulators. And so they always are stimulating the system and pushing the toxins out of the tissues.
Right. So I think, many people think of detox as living in this bubble, right? Don't let any toxins in, and there is a place for that. Obviously, you don't want to overexpose yourself on purpose to toxins, but you have to live life. Right?
No,
you have to get out. And
detox is keeping the chemistry that's always pushing them back out. Right. In fact, my favorite paper around this was a cell culture paper where they made all these mutant cells from this. This is the way they used to do biochemistry. They'd make these mutant cells and they'd assay, they'd have like 1,000 different variations on a cell, and they expose them all to a toxin, and they found this cell type that could live with all these metals, cadmium, arsenic, mercury, lots of them. And so they said, well, why can this do this? And they found it was because it had a highly upregulated detoxification system. It was making a lot of glutathione, a lot of the conjugation enzymes, and the transporters that push stuff out of the cell. As long as it did that, even though all that metal was in the dish with them, it kept pushing them out of the cells and it was fine. And if they went and they turned down either of those three processes, the glutathione production, the conjugation, or the transport, if they pushed any one of those down, the cells would die. And or start dying. If they push those back up, then the cells would be fine. So you want to live with that system up and pushing the exhaust out from downtown Austin, pushing the plastics out from our printers, right, from the bottles that we have, just right, always getting rid of stuff so we can go out there and live the life that we're meant to live, enjoying the world that we're a part of, not ever hiding from it.
Excellent. Dr. verbally the link for where people can find out more about you.
So quicksilverscientific.com, that's our website. You can go and you'll find lots of educational material there. Look for the new Keto Before 6 product. Look for the Push Catch Liver Detox and the glutathione. Those are the mainstays of the lecture that I'll be talking about. And on YouTube, look for the Quicksilver Scientific YouTube page. I've probably got 31.5-hour webinars on there covering all this stuff in great detail. And you need to hear it again and again and again. And then all of a sudden it just makes sense. Like, of course, that's how it works. And of course, this is how we modulate it and use it to our advantage.
Right. Well, Dr. Shade, we cannot wait to have you in Austin, Texas for Paleo FX in just a few short days. Wow, I think we're like 10 days away right now. I mean, it's
exciting
coming up. Yeah. And beautiful weather here in Austin, Texas. April is a wonderful time to be in this part of the state. You don't want to be around here in August and September. I can guarantee that. But April is beautiful.
April's awesome.
It is. Yes. On sale for Paleo FX. So even this late in the game, if you don't have them, make sure you grab them. Make sure you travel on in. People come in, they gather together in buses and just take road trips. It's a beautiful thing to see. And tickets are still available. I don't know how long the premiere and VIP tickets will be available because we're getting very close to sellout. So if you don't have yours yet, make sure you jump on those. We have plenty of expo tickets because the expo floor is massive. There's really no fire code in that area. So, I mean, the more the merrier down there. But we are fire code restricted for those other tickets, which is why we have to limit them. And we can't wait to put on this show. Dr. Shade, I can't wait to see your talk in full because now my appetite is whetted. I want to hear much, much more about your talk. And yeah, so can't wait to see you. And I guess we will see each other again at Paleo FX and at the speakers dinner.
Absolutely. So looking forward to it. Take care.
All right, Dr. Shade. Thank you for coming on. Everybody else out in Paleo FX World, they have another interview coming up. Is it shortly? I don't know if Michelle's going on or not, but either shortly or tomorrow or tomorrow. All right. Bye, everybody. Dr. Shade, I'll see you in a couple days.
Bye-bye.
Bam.